camera.
Get on the camera. I have to get on the camera. Well, I can't get on the camera and read the introduction for Bryan and Liz, but I will start on the camera right now and thank everybody for coming, and welcome Bryan and Liz to join us this evening. I also want to, we always do at the beginning, are so graciously giving her time, and our webinars twice a month.
Yeah.
Also, we also stop at the beginning for open microphone for a minute or two. If anybody has any pressing issue that they'd like to bring up, we will be quiet and you can talk. So go ahead, and this is a time to say anything if you want to. And immediately after this time elapses, I will start the introduction.
So the Jeopardy theme song is running in everybody's mind. Nobody's saying anything.
I'll check in. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Awesome. I'm going to try to maximize the video here and see what we can get. I may go to just audio for myself.
Okay.
Okay, we'll have everybody mute until they raise their hands.
Yeah, everybody will, if everybody would make sure that their microphones are muted, then when you want to ask a question, there's a little hand button at the very bottom left of the participants box. And Jen is now, I think.
And flashing?
Flashing? I don't see it. There you go.
Sounds like that.
And when you raise your hand, we'll wait for Bryan to get to a pause point, and then I'll take the video back. We're going to lock the video onto Bryan and Liz as soon as we start, but we'll grab the video back and let you have an opportunity to ask your question. So that being said, I'm going to lean forward and read my other screen and say that Bryan is a certified master hypnotherapist and performance hypnotist. Bryan Cassidy began putting people under hypnosis at age 11.
Okay.
Okay. she says, this work, when the book report for school sparked a lifelong interest in the field. He's been studying and refining his craft ever since, training under such notables as Hypnosis Hall of Famer Bert Freeman and acclaimed hypnotist and trainer Bryan David Phillips. Certified both in speed trance and erotic hypnosis, Bryan is accredited through the National Society of Hypnotherapists and the Society of Experimental Trance. He owns Erotic Transformations, his private practice on Philadelphia's Main Line, and is a founding member of Philadelphia's Erotic Hypnosis Group. He enjoys falling snow and long walks in your mind. And with that, I will, if I can find my cursor on this split screen, I will lock the camera onto Bryan, and I'll say, Bryan, welcome this evening.
Good evening, Bob. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Since that writing, I'm also a certified through the National Guild of Hypnotherapists as well. So, yeah. I think I hear R2D2 coming in soon. This would be the great time for people to mute their microphones. If at any point any of you have any questions about anything I'm saying, please feel free to raise your hand, and Bob will field those things. Before I even begin with a specific topic, if you have any questions about hypnosis in general, this would be a great time to voice them, because I'm very much a believer in evangelical hypnosis. I think that the more people who learn about this stuff and who do it, the less fear and ignorance there'll be. And they'll realize that true hypnosis isn't like you see in the movies and TV, at least not completely. And there's a lot that's different to it. With actual hypnosis, someone who is under hypnosis is just in a state of focused concentration. And believe it or not, we enter and leave these states all the time. We just don't call them hypnosis. I myself, as several of you also reported, am getting over a chest cold, so I'm going to do my best to keep my my voice going. I have here next to me my associate and demonstration person, Liz, and I have worked with her on a number of occasions over the past few years, so she's extremely susceptible to my hypnotic power. Actually, it's skill. It's not power. That's one of the things I wanted to get very clear about tonight, that hypnotists have a special brand of skills that can help take someone and bring them into an altered state of consciousness by changing the kinds of things they think and the way they think. It's just an extension of things we already are commonly exposed to. Like if you've ever read a really good book and gotten involved, you may not be aware that someone's calling your name. Or if you're in a movie theater and you're watching the screen, your reality is up on there on the screen with those characters. It's you're not aware of the exit signs around you, or your feet sticking to the floor from the spilled drinks and the popcorn. You are actually setting aside your reality temporarily in favor of someone else's. And formally induced hypnosis is that same continuum of consciousness, just extended a little further, a little more intense, a little deeper, a little more useful. So taking the example that Jen was mentioning earlier, have any of you ever thought it was Friday when really it was only Thursday? Or maybe thought it was Monday when really it was already Tuesday, or anything like that? This is a very common experience. Now, I would say to you that you are actually time traveling, that our reality isn't out here to be perceived so much as it's in here to be constructed. So when you were living in Friday, everyone else around you was in Thursday, and until new information came to change your mind back to the consensual reality that everyone else was and brought you back to Thursday, you really were living in Friday. You were thinking Friday thoughts. You were doing Friday things until that new information came along. In a sense, that's a trance state. That's a hypnotic state. When your mind believes something and really actually takes it into itself, then that's all your brain has to formulate its reality. So what hypnosis can do is it can relax that conscious filter and relax the judgment and the processing so that ideas get through more readily, even kind of silly and ridiculous ideas. If anyone has ever seen a stage hypnotist, such as myself, in action, you'll see people on stage doing seemingly ridiculous or embarrassing looking things. Now, it's important to recognize that it's never my goal to embarrass anyone. I consider my volunteers on stage to be the real stars of the show. I'm just there to help guide them into a state. And everyone wants to have a good time. I'm there to show people the power of their own minds. And I hope by the end of tonight's symposium, you will have a taste of that yourself. Now, obviously, tonight's topic is a bit more racy and interesting. It's called You Are Getting Very Horny, Hypnotic Arousal and Orgasm. Hypnosis can very easily and deeply affect people's thoughts, feelings, sensations, and emotions. And when you got those in combination, you can do lots and lots of different things. Now, a lot of hypnotic myths have come up around the years. You know, there are all sorts of ideas that people have about hypnosis. TV and Hollywood help there as well. But one of the things that people seem to think that hypnosis is some kind of sleep. But really, it's kind of the opposite of sleep, even though superficially it looks like very often a person is asleep. Inside, if you can hook up an EEG to their brains, you can see that they look very awake but relaxed. Whereas when you're asleep, you're literally unconscious. You're not aware of what's going on around you, and you wake up the next morning kind of wondering what the heck happened. Which sort of leads into the myth of people being hypnotized, not being aware of their surroundings. Because hypnosis isn't sleep, most people are quite aware of what's going on around them. They just don't care. There's an idea that people under hypnosis wake up and they don't remember anything that's gone on during the trance. Now, that can happen, especially if the person going into hypnosis believes that they are supposed to forget when they emerge, or if the hypnotist tells them specifically they are to forget. Well, then, yes, they will probably forget. But most people on their own naturally remember everything that's gone on in the trance. They will naturally be aware of everything that's gone on around them, at all times, which makes perfect sense when you realize, as I mentioned before, that hypnosis is just a natural extension of the consciousness we enter and leave all the time. Anytime you're paying attention to anything else, and you're learning and taking in new information, you're actually in a trance state. So right now, some of you, most of you I hope, are in a tiny bit of hypnotic trance, just listening to me and taking in the interesting new information that you're learning from me. Now some of you may actually go into a deeper trance in a little bit later when I do some demonstrations with this lovely lady next to me and maybe a volunteer or two from the studio audience, if that's permitted. So what I'm going to talk about now is a couple of the other things that hypnosis is either useful for or is known for, and then we'll get to the topic of taking that into the bedroom. Now, one of the very common misconceptions or myths about hypnosis is that hypnosis is some kind of mind control or loss of control. Well, that's a very sexy thought, and hypnosis can be quite effectively used to either foster that illusion or over time make that in a willing subject a reality. Hypnosis in and of itself does not actually control a person. You have a core sense of self, which no amount of hypnosis can really violate. Now, of course, over time, that core sense of self can be changed by various things, life experiences, what have you. But hypnosis cannot directly make anyone do anything they don't really want to do. Now, having said that, most human beings don't have a very big handle on what it is they would or would not be willing to do in any given circumstance. So people surprise themselves all the time. Sometimes the shy, retiring person goes up on stage and they want to have a good time, and hypnosis is the perfect excuse to maybe act like a stripper for once in their life with no repercussion, or twerk like Miley Cyrus, or swivel their hips like Elvis, whatever. But that doesn't mean that they're being made to do that. I mean, let's face it, folks. If hypnosis worked the way that most people out there seem to think it works, we'd be looking at the billionaire Mormon husband of Angelina Jolie, Jessica Alba, Avril Lavigne, my own dear wife, and probably half a dozen others, right? And I can sadly assure you, and that is not the case. So really, hypnosis cannot take control of a person directly, unless that's what they truly deeply want inside. But what it can do is help someone relax and fulfill their fantasies. And if there's any part of a person which is willing, safe, and comfortable feeling something, doing something, performing something, saying something, whatever, then they are very much guided by what the hypnotist suggests and says. Now, is there anyone out here in the audience, and you don't have to show of hands because I probably already know the answer to this, is anyone here who does not like orgasms?
Could happen.
Could happen.
Some people.
Could happen. Some people don't. Yeah. I will grant that, yes. But by and large, most people enjoy the feeling of sexual pleasure. So, strangely enough, hypnosis is very, very good at eliciting sexual feelings, arousal, pleasure in human beings. So, we use this to our advantage by guiding someone into a state of concentration, and then through the use of suggestion and basically a collaboration with that person's unconscious mind, we get them to feel these wonderful, uncontrollable, delicious, yummy feelings of pleasure. Pleasure. I don't know how that happened. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these concepts and showing you step by step some of the things that you can do with hypnosis and how to use it to spice up your sex life and so forth. One of the things I love about hypnosis, especially if you're interested in other kinds of, shall we say, kinky behavior, is that I like to say hypnosis is like eggs, right? It is both a meal in itself and an ingredient, right? It's a meal in itself in the erotic arena because the very act of hypnotizing someone else or being hypnotized, depending on whether you like it or both, because I personally like both. I think you do too. Mm-hmm. Yes? Mm-hmm. Can be itself very erotically charged. On the one side of the watch, so to speak, when you're hypnotizing someone else, there is a sense of power. There is a feeling of control. It is a heady feeling of you're guiding someone else's experience and consciousness, and that can be quite exhilarating. And from the other side of things, if you prefer feelings of being a subject, there really is something just amazingly sensual about feeling your self-control gently melting away under the guidance of someone else's voice, just kind of dissolving into this sea of bliss where everything seems absolutely perfect and wonderful, and that you just find yourself responding to these ideas and this voice that you seem not to be able to tear your attention away from, not that you would want to. So from either side of that equation, hypnosis itself is an extremely powerful and erotic thing. Now, as an ingredient, you can use hypnosis in conjunction with anything else really you're into, because it all deals with the human mind and experience. Anything anyone has ever experienced or even imagined experiencing, but anything anyone has experienced can be recreated by the brain with absolute clarity, with practice. I will give that. For some people, it takes a little more practice to get those kinds of physical and sometimes other sensory, visual, auditory, those kinds of what are essentially hallucinations to really manifest. But for some people, it's extremely vivid and absolutely real right off the bat. But with practice, anyone can do this. You can be a good hypnotic subject. The more you practice, the more you're hypnotized. So if, for instance, you enjoy the sharp, crisp sting of a whip against your ass, that's great. But hypnotic whips, now, they never miss. They don't leave marks. They're never too hard or too soft. They're always just right. And you can't leave them in the trunk of your car accidentally. So there's a lot of advantages there. If you like to tie someone up, great. Hypnotic ropes cannot be undone. They can't slip. They can't chafe. The suspension rig can't accidentally crash down. And the bonds of your mind can't be broken. If I were to tell someone, Liz, relax. On the count of 3 to 0, your eyes will awaken, but this arm will be stuck in this position until I snap my fingers and say otherwise. 3, 2, 1, 0, hot. Now, she may feel like there's a rope there suspending her arm, or not. The point is, you can try to move that up, down, sideways. It's sort of just stuck there, isn't it? Right. Okay. So, is this thing on? You can go. There you go. That's good. Right. So, any sort of things. If you like the feeling of fire, some people like fire play, knife play, anything, you name it. You can just safely and deeply recreate that experience for your partner, or for yourself, for that matter, using the power of your own mind. Because when it comes right down to it, if you think about it, everything is in your mind. All the experiences you've ever had, all the experiences you ever will have, and everything in between, and everything that you've imagined. So how does one get into that sort of hypnotic state? First of all, before we continue, are there any questions either about how I started this or anything I've said up to now? Any hands? No, we're good? Okay, moving on. One of the things that I like to do with hypnosis is to sort of build up a layered series of suggestions. Now, it's true, I am certified in speed trance as well. I can, and sometimes it's fun to just go up to someone and sort of zap them into trance, obviously with consent. You don't just go up to someone and go, boo, you're in hypnosis. I should make it very clear, this is all with the other person's consent. Just doing things without any prior understanding, this is a little shady, I would say. But the consent, I do street trance as well as speed trance. And what that is actually sometimes go out with a camera, sometimes without. But I have a permit for the streets of Philadelphia to go out and hypnotize strangers walking by on the sidewalk. But, you know, the induction can be as quick and as easy as, hey, excuse me, my name's Bryan, how are you? I'm actually a professional hypnotist. Has that ever interested in you? Would you like to experience something really cool and make you feel really good?
Yeah.
Does that sound all right with you? All right. At this point, you usually get one of three reactions. Either it's like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Yeah, do me. Or it's, I don't know, I'm not sure. Or it's, hell no, get away from me. You don't chase those people. It's fine. You just, if you get a heck no, you just let them go. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I better not look you in the eye, or I'll get hypnotized. And my response is usually invariably, well, you don't have to look me in the eye. You just have to listen to my voice and relax. Mm. So in the case of someone who says, yeah, sure, I'd like to do something, then I might do something really quick and easy, like a street trance. I might say, well, I don't know if you realize this, but I actually have a magic hypnosis finger. It's this one right here in my right hand. And if you look at this magic hypnosis finger, you might notice that it's very hard to look away. And as it gets closer and closer to your forehead, you may find your eyes blinking more, breathing changing. And when my finger touches your forehead, your mind grows quiet and you can sleep deeper and deeper. Relax. Now, you can continue to relax, Liz, as I talk to the rest of the people. I'll awaken you later on the count of 3 to 0. Now, you may think that it's mainly because of Liz's previous association with me that seemed to work so well. But in actuality, and I'm very much a kids try this at home kind of guy, if you were to go to someone and very confidently project that same instant induction that I showed you here, you know, I've been studying hypnosis, it's really cool, take a look, this is magic hypnosis finger, and then just give them the idea that as it approaches, their brains are going to be thinking something along the lines of this. Magic hypnosis finger? What bullcrap? That can't possibly work. I wonder what would it be like, though, if it really were a magic hypnosis finger? How would I know it were working on me if it were? I guess as it came closer, I would have to start to feel more relaxed. Wait, did I just start to feel more relaxed? Oh, my goodness. I think it's working. Is it working? And that train of thought, that loop, actually causes the hypnotic state to begin. And the more their mind buys into it, and the more their unconscious believes it, the better it works. So by the time that you're actually touching their forehead with a good subject, they've convinced themselves that the finger is working. Now, do I really have a magic hypnosis finger here? No, it's actually this other finger over here. But no, I don't. I have a set of skills that can help convince people to help themselves go into trance. So that's one method of doing that. As you've done very, very well. 3, feel pleasure. 2, 1, and 0. Wake fully alert. Thank you. All right. Now, like I say, I like to layer suggestions, and that was a speed trance. But for those of you who may not feel confident enough yet, and confidence really is the key, when you go to your first hypnotic subject, treat it as if he or she were your thousandth, okay? You don't have to lie to them and say, yeah, I've done this a billion times before if you haven't, but act as if you do. If in your own mind you believe that you are one of the most powerful hypnotists on earth and no power in the universe can stop this person from going into trance when I want them to, that air of confidence and competence will actually shine through in what you say and how you say it. And that is really 80% of what you need to make happen in order to help guide your trance partner into trance. So once you've practiced or gotten a few of these under your belt, and success breeds success, don't ever be afraid to do this over and over again until you get it right. Once you've gotten a few successes under your belt, maybe the instant and speed inductions will be more your style, and they certainly save a lot of time and effort. But for the beginner, especially if you're doing things in the bedroom and you want things to be a very kind of easy and, easing things into it, a more traditional approach might be beneficial. Something along the lines of progressive relaxation, induction, or not to get too technical, but a modified element induction, something that combines a whole bunch of techniques into one induction method. Induction, by the way, is just the term that we hypnotists use for the method by which we are getting someone into hypnosis. Right. Okay. Now, one of the first things, of course, you want to do with your trance partner, and by the way, I should mention at this point, if you haven't noticed already, I happen to be a straight male. Obviously, your mileage may vary, so anything that I'm saying is going to be, at least from my unconscious, given from a perspective of a male hypnotist hypnotizing a female subject, but obviously any gender that you can care to name will work. Okay, great. Okay, so let's talk about induction methods. Progressive relaxation is an extremely simple and workhorse induction, and it's usually the first kind of hypnosis that hypnotists learn. Now, a lot of my colleagues consider it a kind of training wheels induction, but you know what? I still use it in my practice, and it's a why? Because A, it's effective, it works, and it's extremely simple. The only downside really is that it, for some kinds of personalities, if someone's really analytical, it takes too long. It gives them too much time to think. So a more rapid induction might be more appropriate for those kinds of people if they're having trouble going under. But this style of induction works on a large percentage of the population. Now, this is something you guys can do with me. I'll cut here. And you can follow along at home. Now, I should have, I guess, in the interest of full disclosure, told you that during this particular presentation, I will be speaking sometimes in hypnotic terms, using a hypnotic language. If you feel yourself going into trance, it's perfectly harmless, and rest assured right now that you can bring yourself out of hypnosis. I'm telling you this right now, so you have my full permission to come out of hypnosis if you find yourself going in. If you need a little extra help or whatever, please raise your hand or speak out into your microphone, and we'll help you. If you do not wish this to happen, you can turn off the sound portion, or you can just simply tell yourself that you are watching and learning and that it is not appropriate for you to go into hypnosis. But these are the kinds of things that you would tell someone when you were bringing them into a hypnotic state. And this is true for any purpose, not just the erotic side of things. But this is a good first step, and the very act of relaxing in a progressive manner can be very arousing, especially if you set the mood or the anticipation that something sexy is going to happen later. And I certainly hope that's what you've done before this point, rather than doing it afterward. So, first thing you do is you have your person sit or lie down in a comfortable position, and if they're sitting, have their feet flat on the floor. Now, a lot of people have their arms or legs crossed. It's good to have them uncrossed. and let them know that. Not because it's dangerous or hurtful, but because it can be distracting. Most people feel very heavy and relaxed when they feel hypnosis coming over them, and it can be distracting. You want them focused on you, on your voice, because focus really is the key. Now, before you actually do an induction, you can do a number of hypnotic susceptibility tests to see how good they're going to be as a subject, but we can get into that later. I think right now we're just going to talk about how to do a basic hypnotic induction. All right. So I'm going to be inducing Liz in progressive relaxation style, and those of you at home can follow along. Now, Liz, you're going to pretend that I've never hypnotized you before, okay?
Yes, Bryan.
So I hear you are interested in being hypnotized and enjoying the comfortable feeling of hypnosis. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Well, I realize this is your first time, so I'm going to go real easy on you, okay? So what I'd like you to do is just to put your feet flat on the floor. All right? Now, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Left-handed.
Great. So can I have your right hand for a moment? That's good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure your hands are comfortable and resting relaxed on your lap. They feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that seemed a little silly, left-handed, right-handed. Why did I do that? What I'm doing is actually, by getting them to comply with seemingly stupid, silly little things like, oh, can you make sure you uncross your feet and put them flat on the floor? Let me have your hand, left-handed or right-handed. You're actually already setting up in their unconscious mind the expectation of doing what you say. Now, it seems pretty innocuous, but even saying something, could you come over here and sit down in this chair as opposed to that chair? And they do, that's actually getting their unconscious minds used to following your directions. Okay. Now, do I have your permission to hypnotize you today?
Yes.
Great. Do I have your permission to make you feel really good?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to advise you to do this, simply focus on my words and let whatever happens just happen, okay? There's no right or wrong way for you to feel. Just allow yourself to listen to my words and follow along, okay? Now, a lot of first-timers, when they first feel this wonderful feeling of hypnosis kind of stealing all over them and taking them over, they kind of jolt themselves out of it, like, oh my God, it's working. I'm going to warn you against that right off the bat, okay? When you start to feel this happening to you, just let it go all over the place and let it take you down. The more you do so, the better you'll feel, all right?
Okay.
Great. Now, obviously you don't want to resist anything, but at the same time you don't want to help things along either. It's a little counterintuitive, isn't it? But have you ever tried to fall asleep when you've had insomnia? That really works, doesn't it? Am I asleep yet? Am I asleep yet? So what we're doing is we're dissociating your conscious mind as much as we can from the equation, and instead just allowing. Now, because I'm speaking English, and you're a native English speaker, I assume?
Yes.
All right, but you know English either way. The words I'm saying are automatically interpreted by your brain. Isn't that amazing? So when I say words to you, you can't stop yourself from understanding me. Okay, go ahead, try. Try not to understand what I'm saying right now. It's impossible, isn't it? Okay. So if I say a word to you like sleep, part of your brain has to figure out what that means, and to even think about it or figure that out, it has to give some part of your mind that experience. So in a real sense, and studies have shown this scientifically, in a real sense, imagining a situation fires the same nerves, same neurons in your brain as actually experiencing a situation. Right. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just pay attention to your feet right now. And here's where the progressive relaxation begins. There's no right or wrong way for your feet to feel, but I want you to notice how they feel. Just notice your feet. Now, as I'm speaking to you, you may notice that your feet feel different, don't they? That the more I speak, the more that you listen, the more this wonderful, heavy feeling, or maybe it's a tingling or some kind of change in your feet, you may discover that your feet are starting to feel more and more like they're stuck to the floor. And that's okay. Let that happen. Now, this wonderful feeling of comfort and relaxation is moving up in gentle waves over to your knees, over your knees, up your thighs, to your waist. And every place that I mention just seems to relax and let go. Allow it to get heavy and comfortable. As your hips relax, your waist. Now everything from your waist down is enjoying a deep, pleasant comfort. Very good. As this wonderful feeling moves up your stomach, your sides, your back, into your chest, and your shoulders. And as your breathing muscles relax, your breathing becomes very deep and pleasant. And as this feeling moves down your arms into your wrists and hands, your elbows, all the way up and down your arms. Very good. So now your entire body from the neck down is enjoying a deep sense of comfort. Good. Now let this feeling move up into your neck, your chin, your jaw, your head. That's good. You're going to be noticing, Liz, that as your face gets more and more comfortably relaxed, your eye is going to want to close as a natural part of this process. You can let that happen at any time. Very good. And now this feeling is moving up past your forehead, your scalp, your hair, all the way to the ends. And with your next breath in and out, this wonderful feeling moves down into your mind, relaxing it deeper and deeper. And sleep, deeper and deeper, more and more relaxed. Let's just continue to relax deeper into trance while I speak to the rest of the people. Now, any of you listening over the computer to me, that did affect you in any way, I'm just going to count from 3 to 0, and when I reach 0, you can come back to full alertness, feeling wonderful, fantastic, better and better with every number. 3, 2, 1, 0. Great. What this has demonstrated is that you can use just naming the parts of your body and moving upwards or downwards, if that's your case. Some people like to start from the top and bottom and meet in the middle. But the most important thing here is observe your hypnotic subject. You can usually tell from changes of breathing, changes of skin tone. A flush means something's going on, that they can actually feel something happening. The relaxation means the blood vessels, the vasodilators are relaxing so that they're getting a flushed skin tone. Greater heartbeat, faster heart rate. You can tell by the pulse in their neck, if you observe that keenly, that they're having an internal experience of this interesting new sensation that's coming over them. And obviously, at some point, what you're looking for is the eyes to flutter or have a hard time staying open, and then you suggest that they close on their own. You can deepen the suggestions from here, suggesting things like, Liz, the more you try to open your eyes, the more they seem to be stuck tighter and tighter. The more you try, the tighter they're stuck. Now stop trying and relax. Go deeper. There's a lot of resources out there on the web, and of course my own website and publications that can teach you more about how to use the trance and use it more deeply, how to get people into trance. But once you have someone in trance, now, how do you, what do you do with them? Well, tonight's topic, what we're going to do is we're going to generate feelings of sexual pleasure, arousal, and eventually orgasm. You can also use this to generate feelings of desire. Now, the trick for this or any other kind of hypnotic suggestion is you want to be descriptive, but not so descriptive that you invalidate an internal experience they might be having. So, for instance, if you're describing a door, like you see a door in your mind's eye, let it be their door. If you suddenly say, now notice the red door opening, and you never said it was red, that may be a jarring experience. There are certain shared experiences we have as human beings, or you have from previous experience, that you can pretty much either guess or know that's going to happen in a certain order when you're dealing with these kinds of things. So, for instance, there are certain words in our lexicon that are charged words. One of the words in terms of a hypnotic situation is the word sleep. Liz, Whenever you hear me and only me say the word sleep, that's your cue to go right into hypnosis again. If you're out of hypnosis, you'll go right back into hypnosis. If you're in hypnosis, you'll go deeper to sleep. Of course, you know that when a hypnotist such as myself says sleep, he does not mean the sleep that you sleep at night. He means a deep hypnotic sleep. Good. I'm doing wonderfully well. Praising your hypnotic partner is always a good idea. Makes them feel good. Letting them know that they're doing really, really well. And here's the key. The deeper you go into this experience with me tonight, Liz, the better it feels. That's right. The deeper you go, the better it feels. And the better it feels, the deeper you go. Now, this is a great construction because it's like a positive feedback loop. The deeper you go, the better it feels. And the better it feels, the deeper you go. So, of course, you want to feel better, you'll go deeper. You want to go deeper so you feel better. Doesn't that feel wonderful? Now, I've not mentioned anything specifically sexual at this point, but feeling better, that's a good start, especially if you've already negotiated that there's going to be some sexual feelings going on beforehand, which, for the record, I already have with this young lady. So, Liz, I want you to think about a certain word I'm about to say. Now, of course, all the words that I'm saying right now are very important to you because you're in a deep hypnotic sleep. But when you hear me say this particular word, you will also have the experience of that word. The word is pleasure. Now, pleasure is a special word. When you hear me say pleasure, you feel the pleasure, don't you? Of course. Because in order to even understand what the word pleasure means, your mind, some part of your mind, has to give you the experience of pleasure. Now, one thing that you can do, once they're feeling pleasure every time you say the word pleasure, is you can keep that as the trigger for those feelings. Another thing you can do is to anchor it or trigger it with a different stimulus. For instance, I could say that until we're done here tonight, Liz, each time and every time you hear me snap my fingers, you will feel an upswelling of wonderful, deep, satisfying sexual pleasure. Just as if I've said the word pleasure, but 10 times more pleasure now. Right. Now, it won't be strong enough to give you an orgasm. That comes later. But you'll still feel that way, whether you're in hypnosis or out. If this is okay with you, your head can nod. Good. Okay. Excellent. Now, as I count from 3 to 0, I'd like your eyes to open on the last number and be fully alert, aware, and completely out of hypnosis temporarily. 3, feeling better and better. Always help your partners feel better and better. 2, more refreshed, alert, invigorated. 1, moving, stretching, stirring, feeling fan-freaking-tastic. And 0. Right. Hi. How did that feel?
Really good.
Good. Pretty good. Okay. Did you feel pleasure? Yeah? You like to feel pleasure? All right. Can you move it a little closer? Look right there. Pleasure. That's good. Okay, good. And what you've done is you've set up a conditioned response. And for those of you who know about training, people can be trained. Yes, actually, we're very good at being trained. When the organism that you're training does what you want it to, you give them a reward. Now, usually it's a kind of proxy reward, something they like, whether it's food or whatever. But in the end, in the nervous system, the reward is pleasure. But now, if the response is the reward, it is self-reinforcing and much deeper conditioning. So you can have someone conditioned to pleasure at a particular stimulus from you in a single session of hypnosis, which, as you can imagine, can lead to bigger and better things. Okay. Sleep. Excellent. Doing wonderfully well. Deeper and deeper. More and more. Okay. Now, Liz, you're already good at feeling pleasure, of course. And you know how good it feels to do things that I ask you to do. Now, here's a fun idea for your mind to play with, and it's simply this. Whenever I say the word good, G-O-O-D, you will feel an intense sexual desire. That's right. Desire, arousal, horniness. You will find me so incredibly attractive and irresistible that you will discover that you do things and say things to gain my attention and my sexual favor. You will be flirtatious and even blatant, perhaps more than you thought. You will continue to feel this way and do these things until I say, bad, B-A-D. Do you understand? Good. Now, it may or may not be fun for you to remember everything that just happened or that I just programmed into you. But you can remember as much or as little as you desire. 3, 2, 1, 0. Wake. Right. Now, you still feel pleasure, of course. Right. Excellent. Doing really well. Are there any other questions so far? Are we all good? All right. Good. So, how are you feeling?
Really yummy.
Huh? Really yummy?
Really yummy.
Okay. Good. You. Oh. Hey, not bad. All right. That's it. How did that feel?
Strange.
Strange? Strange in what way?
Just like I wasn't totally in control.
Weird strange or good strange?
Oh, good.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can see the flush. My camera is, okay. All right. I'm not saying this is bad. But, all right. Thank you. You're doing wonderfully well. Another thing that you can do is, you remember the magic finger technique I used. A lot of the speed techniques or some of the more effective hypnosis techniques involve this sort of gradient, this more and more things. As you approach, as my finger gets closer, as your arm lifts, if you're doing an arm levitation, that's one of the phenomena you can do under hypnosis. Or sometimes you start with the arm out here and then you push the arm down as it goes down. But it's a kind of gradual change, as you can see. You can use that kind of thing to your advantage because in the hypnotic subject's mind, they're noticing the change and they're starting to think. If one thing's changing, maybe other things are changing too, especially if you're suggesting they're changing. As my finger approaches, you become more hypnotized. So they see the approach, you get more hypnotized. Good? Okay. Now, another thing. You're bad, but in a very nice way. All right. So one of the things that you can do with the attraction and arousal is you can suggest that when you awake them, their attention is riveted on you. If I had a bigger space and more time, I would show you this. When you awake them, their attention is riveted on you, and as you physically approach them, the closer you get, the more aroused, excited, and attracted they become to you. And if you so much as touch their skin, well, I can give you a quick demonstration. Sleep. Excellent. As you heard what I just said, so when I count from 3 to 0, my physical proximity of my right hand, we'll say, the closer my right hand gets to any part of your skin, the more aroused, excited, physical pleasure and attraction you will feel toward me. And if my skin should so much as touch your skin, well, that will feel amazing. 3, 2, 1, 0. Now my hand's way over here and over there. So if I move it over here, does that feel better?
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Good.
How about if I move it here? If I go like this? Now if I do, oh, that's a good look. How about this? Okay, sweet. Excellent. All right. I'm now removing that suggestion for now. My hand approaching you feels just like it did before. Of course, it felt very good then. I'm also removing the suggestion that the word G-O-O-D, good, is special, and the word B-A-D is no longer special either. So I'm returning you to your default state that you were in before we started. Ready? 3, 2, 1, 0. Fully alert and awake. Thank you. Doing well. Feeling good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. No strange reactions in there. Now, one of the, with the little bit of time we have left, we're going to be layering suggestions of physical pleasure and bodily arousal into a full-blown orgasm. Now, how can you do that, you ask? Well, believe it or not, it's very, very one of the simpler things you can do with hypnosis, especially on a female. Sorry, guys, we're wired a little bit differently. Can you use hypnosis to get a guy to orgasm? Absolutely. I've done it many times. It just sometimes takes a little more work and a little more practice. We route our sexual feelings through different parts of our nervous system than women. Women are very able to experience good feelings through the use of words alone. It's one of the reasons that romance novels are often very effective for women. So, what I'd like you to do is simply focus on me right now and feel yourself sleeping, relaxing, deeper and deeper. Good. Now, obviously, there are many things hypnosis can do, and I wish I could show them all to you in this short amount of time. One of the things is you can affect the motions of muscles. If I suggest, for instance, that this arm become stuck right here in midair, it just floats there. This is a state called catalepsy. Liz, when I tap the back of your hand, this arm will all by itself, without any control on your part, just start to float up, higher and higher, moving in stages. The more you try to hold it down, the more it just seems to want to float higher and higher and higher, all by itself. That's right, slowly at first, but getting faster. It's moving all by itself, higher and higher. That's it, floating up more and more and more. And when I snap my fingers, the arm will drop right back down to your lap, and you can go twice as deep asleep now. Excellent. Further and further. Now, if I can make someone's muscles move with hypnosis, you've already seen I can create physical sensations. Well, I can also create emotions. As you're feeling very happy, you know, like you just heard a really good joke. Now you're laughing. In fact, you're laughing, you're giggling, and it feels so good that this happiness is welling up from inside you. Now you're laughing because you're laughing. You know, when you get the giggles, you're just laughing. So helpless with laughter. You can't. It's just so funny. Everything I say is absolutely ridiculously funny. I'll be here all week. Okay, now sleep, relax. Everything is now calm, peaceful. All right. So with hypnosis, you can use muscle movements, you can have physical sensations, you can tap into the emotions. What else can we do by combining all those things? Well, here's how we can do it. You describe an experience of orgasm and then suggest, just like with the special hypnotic finger, suggest that as you progress in your talking, that her body is getting more and more aroused, etc. Most women will feel this intense physical arousal, especially if you engage their imagination. You put a hook in their imagination and just reel that along. The process will take on a life of its own, so that they really do have the feeling that it is an unstoppable, irresistible thing that's happening to them, which can be very pleasurable. Liz, listen to my voice very carefully. And you're going to notice, and you already have several times this evening, that when I say the word pleasure is what you feel. Right. Good. Now, you know, of course, how it feels when your body feels really good. You know what I mean when I say really good. Now, I want you to think back to the last time your body felt fantastic. Maybe the last time you had a wonderful, powerful sexual feeling, like when you were engaged in a very powerful sexual activity. Now, what's great about this is I don't even need to know what that activity was. I don't know if she was having sex with some other guy or masturbating or fantasizing. That's important. You are engaging her mind just thinking about a powerful sexual feeling. She knows what you're talking about, right? This powerful sexual feeling is now becoming more and more real just by my bringing it to mind. And with each passing moment, this is becoming even more your reality. Now you are fixed and focused on my voice, so it doesn't matter how excited, how aroused your body becomes the more you listen to my voice. In fact, one of the wonderful things about being a woman is that you can get as excited, as aroused. You can feel as much pleasure as you want. And no one really has to know but you, unless, of course, you're feeling so much pleasure that you can't hide it. And to help you along, I'm going to count. This is a very useful technique. Each number I count. This amazing, sensual, physical pleasure is going to mount and build and get stronger, deeper and sweeter. Better and better with every number, higher and higher with each number, until I reach your magic number. Good to have a magic number. What's your magic number? Your magic number is 11. Why? Well, I happen to like 11, and with me, pleasure always goes to 11. That's right. So, as I count each number, you're going to notice the physical changes in your body as it gets more and more aroused. 1. Oh my gosh, even the first number. That's the first number. The first number is already putting you on that path to unstoppable, inescapable, explosive pleasure. 2. Oh my goodness, 2 is even better than 1. How could 2 be better than 1? 3, even better than 2. Every number, it just gets better and better, those special muscles down below. And you don't have to be vulgar here, folks. You don't even have to mention any specific body parts. Let their imagination fill in the blanks. Those special muscles, you know the ones I mean, pulling back, getting tighter and tighter, like they want release. 3. Now, if you're intimate with someone and you want to be more descriptive, you can. 4. And now your nipples are getting hard, just like they do when you get really excited, when you're with someone really special. 5. Oh my God, 5. How could this be? This guy's just counting numbers to me, and I'm feeling this way. Part of you can't believe this is happening to you, and yet 6. Yes, it is 6, over halfway to that magic number, and you're starting to wonder if you're even going to make it to that magic number. 7, you're already having to try to hold back this amazing feeling. 8, oh my God, 8, you could live at 8. You could stay here at 8. If I left you here forever, you would be happy, but you want me to count the next number, don't you? Nod your head if you want me to count the next number. I think that's a yes. 9, oh my gosh, 9, on the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, next number is 10. Oh my goodness, your magic number is, and here's where you can anchor it to a stimulus. 11, come for me. That's right. In case any of you had the question whether or not I love my life and my work, the answer is yes. And 11, 10, 9, 8, relax, 7, 6, 5. 5 is good. We can leave you at 5 for a little bit, right? But you see now, remember what I said about conditioned responses? And when pleasure is the reward, is the response that you're after, well, it's almost an instant conditioning response. So if you get a woman, especially if you get someone to orgasm on command once, chances are that is then, from that point onward, a permanent thing, and you can anchor it to different things. For instance, she's already come to orgasm by my counting to 11. So I said she was at 5. If I were so much right now in her suggestible state to say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, come for me, you'll notice I said those 3 special words each time. That means each time and every time I say those same 3 words, your body will come to the same explosive, perfect wonderful feeling of orgasmic bliss. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, sleep. Now I'm going to awaken you from the count of 3 to 0. I know it's a little bit faster than you're used to, but you'll come up gently, easily, feeling refreshed and completely oriented to our surroundings. Proud and happy of all you've experienced with me tonight. That's a good suggestion always to throw in, smooth things over. And when you awaken, you're going to feel really, really good. 3. Coming up gently and easily. 2. Feeling you've had a nice long soak in a hot tub or a massage. 1. Eyes open, stretching, stirring, big smile, and 0. Thank you very much. Okay. I think we have a happy woman here. I'm not sure. Smile at the camera. Come for me. No hands. And ladies and gentlemen, let me impress upon you that, and science will back me up on this, any biologically healthy female is able to do this and is multi-orgasmic. I mean, I read women's magazines, I watch daytime TV sometimes, and you see reports like 70-some% of women today, at least in this country or culture, seem to have trouble reaching climax. And are you feeling good? Mm-hmm. Good. But it's really all mental. If you can get past those mental blocks, the self-images, and whatever the causes, society or advertising or whatever, if the mental barriers can be removed, erased, or overcome, and hypnosis is a fantastic tool for that, then anyone can have this amazing, absolutely human experience. And what better way to share one's sexuality than sharing a really good orgasm? Don't you agree? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I will now open the floor to any questions about my business, my subject, my techniques.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave you on camera, but if anybody wants to ask a question, this is the time to do it. I'll call on you as you raise your hand to keep order in the room.
Or they can type the questions.
Or you can type your questions. Master is monitoring. Nikita is asking, do you have any suggestions for training?
When you say training, do you mean getting the response to happen over and over again on command?
I think she probably means becoming a hypnotist. So
okay. How to become a hypnotist? Well, as a matter of fact, yes. I myself teach hypnotists. I have a series of both webinars and classes, and also private lessons, if you like, that I teach people how to do these things and how to become a hypnotist.
You even travel.
I even travel. Right. I will come to you if that is the case. So my website is hypnotictransformations.com. That's TRANCE, like hypnotic trance, formations.com. I'm also on a site called FetLife as Hypnoguru. That's the name in parentheses there after my name there, if you're into that sort of thing. But there are also a number of resources out there. If you do decide to go elsewhere for your training, I highly recommend that the person you train with be not just versed in hypnosis, but also in psychology and training techniques. And communication skills are important as well. So,
give us your website one more time, and we'll type it in. We didn't get it all.
Sure. It's Hypnotic, HYPNOTIC, Transformations, TRANCEFORMATIONS.com. I know it's long, but it was clever, so I liked it. Most of the other good ones were taken.
And Michael is saying, just like pleasure is a self-reinforcing condition, is it possible that failing to put someone in a trance will negatively reinforce your rapport?
The question is, and I'll repeat it for your benefit too, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm restating this, if you repeatedly fail to put someone into a trance, does that negatively affect rapport? Yes, it can. It can create a sort of performance anxiety in both the hypnotist and the subject. But here's how you break that cycle. Change something, anything. Use a different technique, different day, different time, you know. If you continually use one technique, then you should probably change up your techniques anyway. There are thousands of induction methods out there, and everyone responds to the hypnotic process differently and uniquely. If the person that you're attempting to hypnotize isn't going under for you, probably means you're just not using the right technique for them. Extremely rarely, although it's been known to happen, maybe that particular subject is not someone that feels comfortable with you for whatever reason. I mean, it could be as ridiculous a reason as you remind them of an ex. You just don't know. Or maybe something really traumatic happened to them on the first day they met you, and, you know, it just didn't click. But my recommendation is, you know, don't give up. Use different techniques. And anything you can change about the situation, environment, or technique will serve as a new set of stimuli that can then rebuild rapport from there. I hope that answers your question.
May I add something?
Certainly.
I would also add that any response you get should be considered a good response. So even if they're not going into what looks like a traditional trance, whatever they are experiencing is something you're enjoying together. So see that as what you're really doing. You're enjoying that experience of practicing together, and that helps a lot.
And a very common rookie hypnotist mistake is to assume that just because their eyes don't slam shut and their head doesn't drop to their chest and they don't, you know, do absolutely everything exactly the way you expect it, that they're not hypnotized or they're not responding. In fact, the subjects themselves may report they're not hypnotized, but in fact, they may be. You don't know, which is why it's always a good idea to formally count someone out of hypnosis, even if it looks like they've come out. I'm going to tell a real quick story here. Children, for instance, go into hypnosis differently than most adults. It's truly said that children walk around in a state of trance almost all the time. So when I hypnotize children, they could be having their eyes open, walking around, running around the room, and still actually be in trance and responding. Compliance is really the only definition of whether or not someone is actually, you know, responding to the suggestions. Well, a couple of years ago, I had a guy who's in his late 40s. He came, sat down in my chair. He'd had problems going into hypnosis in the past, but I did this induction, and I was finally able to get an arm levitation. You know, his arm lifted by itself, and immediately his eyes snapped open. He looked at it and goes, "Wow, that's really cool." You know, now I know because I've seen it happen. Other my colleagues or people just learning. At that point, they would go, "Oh, okay, well, let's try something different. Let's try something new." But no, I realized at that point, hey, this guy's still in trance. You know what? He goes under hypnosis like a 6-year-old. So all I did was I treated him as if I were hypnotizing a 6-year-old, and the rest of the session went great, and he met his goal, and everything was fine. Thank you.
Do we have questions from anybody else?
You had another question.
I have another question. Hold on.
How important physical contact to experience for the first time? Is it possible to do it purely online, or would you recommend being in the same physical space as your subject?
Excellent. The question is, how important is physical proximity, especially for your first time? Can you do it online, or do you recommend being physically present?
Good question.
Excellent question. Now, unless you're an experienced hypnotist, I would recommend that your first trance sessions with a new trance partner be in person, yes, because what you want is you want to be able to witness their entire response to your hypnotic process. And besides, your subject is going to give you a wealth of information that sometimes it would be hard to see online or over the camera or so forth. And there is a very, very slim but real possibility of what hypnotists call an ab reaction or a bad trip, if you will, where through no fault of your own or whatever, a person, just by getting so relaxed and feeling so open and suggestible, they hit some sort of pocket of emotion or repressed bad feeling, whatever. You can find subjects burst into tears or start cursing or whatever. The way to handle that is simply to always, one, remain calm. That's true regardless, because your subject will imprint on whatever emotions you're projecting. So if you remain competent and calm at all times, never ever panic, because then they'll pick up on that and it will make things worse. Just remain calm and say, and as you relax and that scene fades, you come back out of trance on the count of 5 to 0. And, you know, you can embellish it more than that. But really, if you just extract yourself from the situation calmly and clearly, you can smooth those things over. It's a little harder to do if someone's online or on the phone. But having said that, hypnosis works perfectly well online, over Skype, on meeting sessions like this, on the phone, even via text, just text alone or email. In fact, fully almost 40% of my client base of my therapeutic practice these days are distance remote clients over Skype. I've got clients in Singapore, Texas, California, all over the place, all over the planet. So it really is. I love living in the future. As I say.
I have a question. Yeah. Are there any books that you recommend for learning hypnosis or learning erotic hypnosis in particular, or are there any books that you would suggest they avoid?
Any books that I would suggest that they have. Of course, I'm coming out with a book. It's not published yet, but it's a book on erotic hypnosis. So it's specifically on the topic of long-term erotic hypnosis and control. It's called Enslave My Mind, the Comprehensive Guide to Erotic Control Through Hypnosis. That will be coming out in the next 4 to 6 month time frame. A colleague of mine named Mark Wiseman has an excellent book called Mind Play, right? Which is a good treatise on erotic hypnosis.
It's obviously the SM-101.
Yeah, it's right. Hypnosis. Yeah, definitely covers a really good wide range of topics, and I happen to know he is a fabulous hypnotist.
How about Look Into My Eyes by Peter Masters? Peter Masters.
I've read that. That is a solid book on the subject. In terms of learning hypnosis, on the vanilla side of things, I found, believe it or not, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Hypnosis was a fair-handed dealing with the topic. I was expecting much more pop psychology, but it seemed very well. Books to avoid, I'm not going to name names, but here's what you want. You want a book written by someone who not only has the hypnosis, but psychology as well, because hypnosis is more than just getting someone into trance. I can teach, and I'd be happy to teach all of you how to do hypnosis in just a few lessons. And that's not the hard part. The hard part is formulating powerful and effective suggestion that's going to really help people change their lives or have the experiences you mean for them to have in formulating your ideas and suggestions. And that's where things like psychology and practice come into mind. Now, in terms of things you want to avoid, any sort of book that promises, for instance, the following. My technique will, within 5 minutes of meeting someone, allow you to control their minds and their hearts completely and get anyone into bed with you. My book will make your psychic powers explode through hypnosis. My book will hypnotically enlarge your sexual organs or whatever in just 10 minutes a day. Now, yes, hypnotic breast enlargement is a real thing, and I have done it. I do it. But there are, certain kinds of far out or overblown topics that I would certainly avoid in choosing your hypnosis book. Yeah.
We have a question on the table that says, I'm very open to suggestion. Can hypnotherapy help rid me of performance anxiety? And Perv has a question after that.
Well, the concise answer to your question is yes. Performance anxiety evaporates with hypnosis because anxiety is all about stress and tension, and hypnosis is the exact opposite of that. When you're hypnotized, you're as relaxed and as calm as you're ever likely to get. And
well, it's like the mesh. I mean, you can still be aware of what's going on, and you still have some inhibition.
Sure.
You know, depending on where you are.
But it teaches you how to handle it a lot better, right? And it's not to say that you will be in hypnosis while performing the things that had anxiety, but what you're doing is you can set up a counter response to the anxiety and instead respond with relaxation, which will balance out the anxiety, and then you perform as you want.
Yeah.
I'd like to make my own comment building on what Michael said, and then I'll read Eric's question.
We had
with him, and then Eric, I'm sorry. When I was having difficulties with Jen, I went to a PhD, a hypnotherapist who's heavily credentialed here in Austin, and was astonished. I went to many sessions, and I feel that he made fundamental changes in the way I am in the world. And it made me much easier to get along with myself. And I highly recommend it. Particularly works when you're enthusiastic about having the change affected. So if you go to somebody and say, yeah, here's what I don't like about myself, will you help me with that? A hypnotherapist can just do marvels with you.
Absolutely. And in fact, if any part of you desires something, and let's face it, you wouldn't have walked into the hypnotherapist's office if that weren't the case, then a good hypnotherapist can work with that and bring that. Yes.
Multi-perv is next, and then we'll read Eric's question. What's multi-perv? Anybody else have a question? I'll go to Eric. I thought multi-perv. We'll go on to Eric's question. Could you explain more about making suggestions that are open-ended enough to let the hypnotee build the sensation or situation in their mind without being too specific? I'm referring to how you let Liz build her own idea of what sexual pleasure meant without exactly describing what that sensation might be.
That's an excellent question and probably worth a talk all on itself. It's certainly something that comes with experience, but what you want is obviously the better you know someone, the more you're going to be able to share that person's internal experience and better shape it. But it's a bit of a tightrope walk. Bless you. It's a bit of a tightrope walk. You want to be very descriptive, but on the other hand, you want to keep the details in their mind. The question is, how does one formulate suggestions so that are descriptive enough and yet open-ended enough so that you can form your own experience without that sort of jarring, oh, the door was red, the door was blue.
This is also where I toss out modalities, use universal feeling ideas. Mention a sound, you can hear the sound of the ocean, you can smell the salt of the air, and you kind of cover all your bases.
Sure. So, I mean, you could say that, well, you can hear the purring of the cat, you can see the cat. But if suddenly you say the cat is gray, then, you never know. You might have, the person might have a yes, I'm surrounded by pussy. I don't know what to he just decided to jump up on me.
Rupert is not amused.
No, he's not amused. But the point is right. You want to give them the core of the experience you want. In other words, hit all the points that you want to hit, but let them fill in the details in between. I guess, in a sense, it's like being a film director, where, you set up the shots, you set up the environments, but it's up to the actors to fill in, their own roles. Otherwise, it would be the director in front of the camera. And again, there are good directors and bad directors, and that comes with experience. And the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. I hope that answers your question.
I've got a question from Ann, and I'm raising it at 9:20. The question is, I missed your details of application for men. What do you suggest? What do you suggest for inducing male subjects in hypnotic arousal orgasm, or is it just strictly for female subjects only? And let me tell you that you have in the audience one at least, and I think two, gay male, gay master hypnotists. So you may want, if either of these people would like to identify themselves and answer the question, I would encourage that, unless you yourself.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I work with men and women, and the process is very, very similar. In fact, I attended a erotic hypnosis event just a couple of weekends ago in New England, and I was very successful at getting several males to achieve orgasm there. It is just an extension, no pun intended, of the same technique I use on women. The only caveat I made is that with many males, it just takes them longer and sometimes more practice to actually achieve that orgasm just from the physical way that the male brain is wired and set up. But that's not a hard and fast rule. Some men get off through hypnosis easier than some women. It's just a statistical effect. One thing I would recommend, though, is when you're working with a male trance partner, is that you impress upon them the difference between the process of orgasm and the process of ejaculation, which actually are two completely separate physiological processes or psychophysiological processes. Most guys go through their entire lives without knowing that because they are constantly paired in their experience. But it just so happens that they are different things, and through suggestion and hypnosis, and practice, you can get guys to separate the orgasm from the ejaculation. Now, this is really important on the stage, for instance, when I'm doing an R-rated show, at whether it's a frat house or college, whatever, and I have guys on stage and I'm doing like an orgasm-type bit. What we want is fun, but with no muss, no fuss, or bother. So it's important that you let your male subjects know that, unless, of course, you want the ejaculation as well, which is fine with me.
The researcher in me will give you a book citation for learning how to separate orgasm from men. The book is called How to Make Love All Night. And it really is an instruction guide for men on separating orgasm from ejaculation. Yeah,
actually I have a copy behind me on my bookshelf. I don't know, you can't see my bookshelves, but yeah. And also the multi-orgasmic male is another one. That's a good one, I know it.
Out there. Right. It's getting up here to 9:25, and let me grab the camera here. You've done a marvelous show tonight, and I thank you so very much. Let me see, switching over to me for a second. You just did a great show, and I'll be in touch with you tomorrow about coming on to a part 2. And
I had a question.
You've had, okay, I'll get the question in just a second. You've had about 35 people, which is the largest number we've ever had.
Hey, largest they've ever had.
What?
Sweet.
Awesome. You deserve it.
Right. Yeah. Go me.
It's really interesting that every time you say sleep to Liz, Bob and I would yawn at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, it really is true, guys, that, if you're an English speaker and I'm saying an English word, to part of your brain, you have that experience. And when you know there's a hypnotic possibility going on, that part gets larger. And if you allow your imagination to happen, then it would happen. And that's really hypnosis.
I'm going to switch back to you, Bryan, because you had that somebody has a question that they want to ask.
Yes, Liz has a question. I'm going to go on.
Well, mostly first I wanted to say that I love you, Multi-Perv, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, so that's awesome. But my main question is, one of the scary stories I heard about before getting into erotic hypnosis personally was women would get into it with a guy who would train them to orgasm, but then they would break up, and she would attach her orgasm to his hypnosis and his voice, and she would have trauma afterwards because she couldn't own her orgasm anymore. She felt it was tied tied to the ex. And what would you say to that experience and how to make that okay?
First of all, I say that that's a pretty dick thing to do, first of all. I don't know, I'm all about the pleasure. I like people to have pleasure, and as big as my ego is, sometimes I don't assume that my partner is always going to stay my partner. I like to put in, when I put in a suggestion, to have some sort of finite limit to it if possible. If not, I always, you know, in the end, I always make myself available to remove suggestions, alter them, deprogram them. So if anyone has that problem, they can always come to me, even if it was implanted by someone else. I know ways around, you know, I have my ways. I've been doing this for over 20 years professionally and 10 years before that not professionally. So, you know, I could answer your question?
Yeah, and I always push self-hypnosis.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, and obviously you're in control of your own experience ultimately. It's fun to leave the driving to someone else when someone else is hypnotizing you, but really you can learn self-hypnosis, you can do self-hypnosis and alter, change, remove, and do anything you like to suggestions that you give yourself or anyone else has given you. Again, that takes practice, it takes confidence, but once you do it, it's a skill you have for life.
Well, I want to thank you very, very much for tonight's program. It's just tremendously spectacular. I don't know if you're reading the comments, but people are just really raving about you. And saying,
no, I can't see the comments. Where are they?
Okay, I'll make a copy of them and send them to you, so you don't have to.
Chat?
Are these up here? Oh, this is the chat?
Yeah, we do a cut and paste. We can send it to you, but you.
Excellent.
You were a big hit. And
appreciate that.
We do have a precedent of bringing people on for part 2.
He wants to do a part 2.
We'll do it.
So
totally.
I'll talk to you about our schedule tomorrow. And
all right.
You can be thinking about it. And I just wanted to thank everybody so much for coming and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Great. And I want to once again remind everyone, hypnotictransformation.com, and I want to thank everyone for sleeping with me tonight.
Once again, thanks so much, Ava, for recording this, and we'll see as many people as can join us in 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.